Hi, friends. It's time to talk about some books today. And I have a lot of books to talk about. So sit back, relax, and grab a cuppa of something. This is water. And let us just dive in to all of the books that I read in September. Maybe you'll get some inspiration. Maybe you'll get steered in the correct direction. Either way, I'm hoping that you will walk away with something after this episode. I'm going to go through the books in the order that I read them. Some I'll go into more depth, and others I'll let you know because I'm going to do a deeper dive in different videos, or it could have been a book that we did on the podcast. I will make sure to link what I do have released in the show notes. Otherwise, let's dig in. The first book is Late Night Witches. Now, we had a discussion about this one on the podcast on how to say the author's name. I'm going to go with R. Lee Wallace. So if we have a different pronunciation, or if you're the author and I am saying this wrong, please leave a comment below. Late Night Witches by R. Lee Wallace was actually our first horror book club pick of the month. So yes, we have a full podcast episode where CJ and I dive deep into this book. But a few overall things about it. I gave the book a 3.6. I found it to be kind of like the palate cleanser that I needed after reading Royal Assassin, which, if anyone knows, that is a very epic fantasy, heavy world building, story, heart-ripping, crying characters, all of that. And so being able to read The Late Night Witches afterwards was perfect timing. This was pitched to me as a practical magic vibe story, and I 100% agree. I went through all the different ways that I think that this book has the practical magic vibes that we love in the podcast episode, because CJ has never seen practical magic. She doesn't plan on seeing practical magic, sadly. So I had to fill her in. Late Night Witches is essentially about this mother who is trying to take care of all of her kids, and we are entering the beginning of October. She's putting together all the different areas that her kids need to be because currently her husband is with Doctors Without Borders, leaving her alone to take care of the entire house by herself. Then some strange things start occurring in her neighborhood, and she discovers that there might be more to her history and her family's background than she may realize. Essentially, she's the only one that could possibly save the entire town. So if you're looking for sisterly dynamics, family, it's set in Canada by where they filmed Green Gables, Nova Scotia. If you like a little bit more of the vampires and all of that lore as well, this is a great book that I highly recommend. It's especially perfect, I think, for people that want that vibey, kind of dark, vampire-y, atmospheric story without it being one, too scary or too very gory. There's one tiny little gory scene in it, but otherwise, this is generally a safe bet for those people that just want to pretend that they read horror, but they don't. It's just a quick, fun read. I am so happy and thankful that we were able to get an advanced copy of this book and to give it a read for spooky season so that we can spread the word to all of you. So this one has already been put out on YouTube, so I will make sure to link our full review of the book in the show notes below. Okay, now book number 2. We had a very intense reading month for the podcast due to schedules and interviews and all of this. So we did quite a bit of pre-recording early on in the month, which means that the second book was also talked about on the podcast, which is What Stalks the Deep by T. Kingfisher. This one has also already been posted on the YouTube page. We got to interview T. Kingfisher, the legend herself. So make sure to click on the link below in the show notes to get a full author interview where we not only talk about the third book in the Sworn Soldier series, but we go into her imagination, how she writes, her process, where she comes with inspiration, her artist style, how she came up with the name T. Kingfisher, all of that stuff. And it was probably one of the greatest moments of my life, and I'm not sure who's going to top her. I'm sorry, all future interviewers, but this is a legend. But because we didn't talk too much about this book in the interview into specifics, I'll go into a little bit more specifics here. This is the third book of the Sworn Soldiers series. So a little cute novella series, essentially based around Alex, who used to be a sworn soldier in the Galatian army. And then now they are just traipsing around the world, stumbling into some really weird scenarios. In this one, she gets called by a friend who has, I believe his brother goes missing. And so he is asking Alex to come and help him figure out where his brother went. And in the typical sworn soldier fashion, we go through some harrowing adventures, we go through some great character dynamics, and we just get to delve deeper into Kingfisher's fucking imagination and how she comes up with her monsters. I gave this book a 5 stars, and I want to say that this is my favorite book of the series so far. I even cried at the end. You heard me, I cried. I don't know how Kingfisher does it, but I have to say that yes, she's a horror writer. Yes, she puts the scariest shit in the stories. Yes, she does all this stuff, but she is one of the most whimsical, heartfelt writers I have ever read. As I said in the interview, and I'm gonna repeat it here because I want this to spread, but when I talked to my husband about the way that Kingfisher writes her horror, he asked, so is she the Hayao Miyazaki of horror then? And I was like, yes, she is. Yes, she is. And if you haven't read this series yet, it's a great time to get into it because they're quick, they're short, they're perfect for these spooky season months. I guess there's only one left. I mean, I'm spooky year round, okay? Really, I didn't expect this series to just keep getting better. I mean, Kingfisher is a master. I love the other books, but somehow that she just keeps providing us with stuff to make me love the books even more. If you're looking for a full-length, real deep depth, gave me a nightmare horror book by Kingfisher, The Hollow Place. That one freaked the utter living shit out of me. So, but don't worry, this one's not too scary, especially this one specifically. It's not too bad. I think that a lot of people could probably get through this. In between getting through the podcast books, I did finish my audiobook of Mailman by Stephen starring Grant. This is a great book to listen to because it was actually narrated by the author, which I think lended a lot to the non-fiction aspect and to the humor that he puts into it and a lot of the things going on. At first, I was disjointed with his narration of it, but I quickly was able to set into his tone and dialect and the way that he was writing it. But at first, I thought it was going to be too West Virginian for me, but I'm really glad I stuck it out. It didn't take too long, maybe a chapter or two. Overall, I really do recommend this book. I gave it a 4.75 stars, and essentially it is about Grant's story of working in the U.S. Postal Service in his hometown as a rural carrier during the first year of COVID. I know, I swear I was never going to read a book about COVID. I'm breaking my rule left and right, but this one is different. We cover COVID a little bit, but Grant is really diving deep into the process of the U.S. Postal Service. I was able to see a background of the Postal Service I don't think I myself personally, and I don't think a lot of people actually have seen or understand of what's going on. And in a way, Grant made Postal Service people heroes in my book, and I want to do more for them. He goes into intricacies of what a day looks like with them, how they have to handle all of the addresses and the mail, which always felt like magic to me that we could guarantee this piece of mail to get delivered specifically to that one person. He covers the intricacies of the Postal Service itself, from the type of cars, the mail trucks that they drive, to even using their own vehicles since he was a rural carrier. He covers what it's like to deliver mail to these people that the mailman might have been their only point of contact during COVID. And he lends a beauty into West Virginia and the Appalachian lifestyle that I think so many people really do poo-poo on in the world. We have this dark, dank feeling of what it's like to live there. And granted, I mean, everything has a good or a bad side to them, but there is beauty in everywhere we live. Beauty that can be found in these places. And I love to be able to get this local's perspective of the area and what it was like to grow up there. And he's a very intelligent person. He is a high-end marketing executive, he only lost his job because of COVID, essentially. And this was his way of just not just coasting through COVID to be able to support his family, but just I think it was a great way for his mental health just to also get through this extremely trying time. There's tons of humor in the book. There's more than just the backstory of the Postal Service. There's a little bit of his family backstory. There's a little bit of backstory of his father being as a professor in Virginia Tech. There is just so much heart and warmth to this book, and I definitely really recommend it. It's not a book I would have picked up. I was influenced to listen to it on Bookstagram, and I'm glad that I did. Now, the last book that I had to read for the podcast at the beginning of the month was Man, Fuck This House by Brian Asman. This episode will be coming out next week, so keep an eye out for it. But the exciting thing about it is an author interview. And this interview is different than all of our other interviews, which means that there are spoilers for the book. CJ and I deep dive with Brian about writing this book, what it was like to self-publish it in the first round, what it was like republishing this traditionally, some of the changes that he made, how he was able to include other stories, and just the experience overall of going through the process of writing these kinds of stories to begin with. We talk about the fodder that he had growing up, what sparked his imagination, and the like. And it was just a lot of fun getting to talk to another horror writer and to pick his brain and just to go through everything as, CJ and I are really starting at the beginning of our publishing journeys. And it's nice to see someone through the journey and getting to have such amazing recognition for his. Now, for me, Man, Fuck This House did get 3 stars, even though I did really enjoy parts of it. I think the biggest downfall of this book is the fact that it's a collection of short stories, and that is something I shy away from a lot. It is no fault to the book. That is really just a fault to my own style of reading and enjoyment, because I like really in-depth, deeper dives into the world and into the setup. And these were very quick, punchy, which in a way is great. I mean, for so many of us, maybe we just want that little tiny spark of story. Overall, all the stories did feel extremely like a movie. I think that probably all of them could make a great movie, and because of the way that he wrote them, you really see the scenes play out. But the title book, or the title story of the book, which is Man, Fuck This House, was a really amazing take on a haunted house, you could say, and his idea behind a sentient house overall. It's a play between a house wanting to take care of you and you wanting to take care of a house as well. Hi, puppy visit. CJ and I had a huge discussion about how the story ends, and sadly, Brian did not give us an answer to it. So if you have read this book and you're curious about the ending as well, leave your ideas and thoughts below. Make sure to comment spoilers so you don't spoil it for anyone else, because I want to know what you thought of this ending. Because I have feelings and thoughts. I say them in the interview. He does not answer me. Make sure to keep an eye out for this one next week and to listen to the interview. I am so thankful that I was able to get an ARC for The Amateur Witch's Guide to Murder by Kay Valentin. There's no E at the end, so it's not Tyne. We're going to go with Valatin. What do you all think? What do y'all think? I suck at this. This is like my nightmare of book reviews. I'm being the worst book reviewer because I'm just going to have to tell you that you're just going to have to keep an eye out for this review on the 14th, because I was given an ARC for a full review and the book's not out yet. Overall, I gave this book a 3.14. I found it to be charming, entertaining, but just not a tiny bit of depth that I was looking for. Essentially, we have a young gentleman who's trying to make ends meet by being an amateur witch, and he is hired on to do a job by someone who keeps having death surround him. It seems that everywhere he goes, someone dies. Now, because our amateur witch, Mateo, is trying to undo his own curses that were put on by his mother, he's like, sure, I'm going to help you out. I need the money anyway. But he's not ready for the level of work that he's going to have to do to break what is happening. But really, it's a fun romp. It has some twists and turns in it that I thought made it a little bit more unique and interesting. And overall, I do think that it depends on the reader, but I maybe will recommend this book to certain people. But I will be doing a way more in-depth review on the 14th. All right, hopefully this comes back on. I forgot a book in the stack, and I had to go grab it. Yeah, hopefully that's good. Okay. Next up, luckily, Chris and I were able to finish another book for Philosopher Kings, and that was Being Peace by Thich Nhat Hanh. Thich Nhat Hanh is probably one of our favorite Buddhist writers and teachers out there. I think that he really aligns with our core belief system and approach to Buddhism in general. This book was a little quick read that goes into more the expansion of Buddhism in general. It's not a recount of the basic principles of Buddhism, but kind of a way to look deeper into it and to really integrate Buddhism into your daily life. There were some really great key insights into this book that helped me to accept more things about myself and the lifestyle we're living. And in the same ways that I say that religion needs to morph into modern age, this is another way to say that of how Buddhism can also morph into modern age inclusion into our life. One of the other things that he said in this book that really stuck out to me is the fact that as Buddhism goes from each new country, there will be a new iteration of Buddhism that comes out as well. And he appreciates that and thinks that that should happen because Buddhism should morph to the new culture that it is in. And so for the fact of Buddhism coming to America, it's going to now morph into an Americanized version of it, but not in the negative way that we're talking about how everything gets Americanized and whitewashed and essentially destroyed by the people over here. In a way, because of who we are, Buddhism is going to shift and morph. And I think with us taking in Buddhism, we're going to have a bit more of a modern approach to it. And we're going to have a bit more of maybe a faster pace approach and really trying to weave the meditations and the lifestyle into daily life in general. But it's just a quick little read, regrounds you into the philosophy, regrounds you, especially if you've already been through his bigger book that delves deeper into Buddhism. It's just a nice little touch again. If you've, I haven't been as much into it because of just life in general and all the things going on. So I kind of lost touch with my Buddhist side. And so this was just a quick little kind of remembrance and just spark to get me back into it. And as you can see, I have so many tabs and things because there was just so much beauty in this. I just want to read a quick line in this too because it stood out to me more than anything, especially in this time. Now, this book was originally written in the 80s, I believe, but especially in this time of all the rallying that we're having to do and the demonstrations and the fighting. And I've had so much guilt that I'm not out there with everyone else. And in a way, I have so many things in my life and my health issues that prevent me, my mental health issues that prevent me, and I still try to do everything that I can behind the scenes, spreading the word, talking about my Philosopher Kings reads, helping to educate and all of that. And so in a Buddhist perspective, this is something that really stood out to me. And it said, smiling is very important. If we are not able to smile, then the world will not have peace. It is not by going out for a demonstration against nuclear missiles that we can bring about peace. It is with our capacity of smiling, breathing, and being peace that we can make peace. This is looking chills reading that here. Yeah, that to me, I almost want to cry because it's so true. So much I feel of what's happening in the world is because we're just not, as people, finding peace. We're either driven by trauma, greed, selfishness, desires, all that stuff, which is a huge Buddhist thing. And if we can smile to one person, and that one person can then take that seed of that smile and make a positive decision that day, the ripple effect is going to keep going. Because then his positive or her positive decision will affect the next person and so on and so forth. And if we can smile to two people, think of that. But if we can represent peace, then we are going to create a ripple for more peace. And so that is how I'm going to fight this. That is what I'm going to do. Now, enough sad talk. On a completely different side note, after that, I jumped into Beneath the Sugar Sky by Shauna McGuire. This is book 3 of the Wayward Children series. I gave it a 4.43 stars. This book, in a way, picks up after book 1, but a little bit down the road. So book 1, we start at the school things happen, things go on. Book 2 is essentially kind of more of a prequel about 2 of the students before they come to the school. And now this book is about the events that happen due to what happened in book 1. Now, unlike the other first two books that are very atmospheric and darker and on the horror side, this one goes in the complete opposite direction. And if you see here beneath the sugar sky, yeah, this is more of like a Candyland rendition. So if you're wondering right away, that is why it's not my favorite. I'm not a candy person. I'm not into candy corn eyes. Yes, there are people with candy corn eyes in this book. But what I do like about this book is the fact that some of my favorite characters come back, such as Cade and Christopher. And we do have a new character coming in called Cora. She's not my favorite in all the characters that we have, but it's still at least something fresh and nice. So in all the cotton candy coated shit in this book, we do get a little bit of the darkness still with the Cade and the Christophers and all of that. And we get a couple extra little surprise visits from other characters as well. I really don't want to spoil the book because this is book 3. And if you haven't read book 1 yet, I don't want to go into too much detail. Just know that this happens sometime after book 1. It deals more with the candy world. And we get to see some of the characters that you might have loved from book 1. They make an appearance here. But in true fashion, we get all the McGuire stuff that we love, the writing, the world building, the plot stuff, the heartfelt warminess of it all. This, I think, is another great series for the Burn months. And it's really short and sweet, so you can get through a lot of them. And again, I believe the last book is being published next year. This is a cute book because there's not the horror, too much of the horror gore side, but it's still like atmospheric and dark and magical and heart. I don't know why, but in the Burn months, I really like me some heartfelt, warming stories. Like, that's when I'm going for the cozy. And I think that this in a way has its own little cozy vibe to it. You just get sucked into the characters and the world and everything going on. And if you yourself are like a lost child or you feel like you never fit in growing up, I think that you're going to find your people in here like I did, because we're all just little lost souls. After that, wow, I don't know how I read this many books. I was supposed to have a very busy month. Supposed to have a lot of podcast books to cover, as you can see, an arc, all in all. And actually, technically 2 books are sent to me to be reviewed. So that's like 5 required reading books, right? So I don't know how I read the same number of books that I read in August, when August I specifically set aside like a whole week to read. I don't know how I did this. Sadly, I did not finish The Two Towers, though. So that does make me upset. But back to the list, I got through Death Note, the Black Edition, Volume 5, which are original volumes 9 and 10 put together. I'm getting to the point where I'm glad I only have one more volume to get through, because the story is starting to run through some circles. We're going in loop-de-loops. And I don't know how many times we can have near misses or have certain people be accused. I don't know how much longer I can take the same old. So yes, I can see the pieces being laid for the ending. I can see that we're getting to the ending. Thank God we're getting to the ending. Still like the series though. I'm still glad, but I'm ready for something new. Kind of like when I got to the last couple of volumes of Full Metal Alchemist and I was like, all right, I'm tired of the fighting. I'm tired of the near misses. Can we just wrap it up? And that's kind of where we are with this one as well. So next month will be over. And then I can switch to a graphic novel that I kind of like put off to read this. Somehow, magically, I was able to fit in 2 audiobooks this month. And the second audiobook that I finished was The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie. This was suggested to me by CJ, and I almost wish she didn't recommend it. I love you, CJ, but I don't think I was ready for this book. It just hit too close to home. If anyone knows about the Mom Talk, is it Mom Talk? Mom Tube? Whatever, mom channel drama that happened in the early 2020s about Ruby Frankie and Sherry Frankie and all that family drama. Well, this is a child's perspective of everything that happened. Sherry does not hold back in a way, or maybe she does a little. I think she how do I say what I want to say here? I feel like any way that I try to put this is just going to sound really callous and mean, but I think that Sherry got lucky because it sounds like the younger kids are the ones that got the brunt of the abuse and the real downfall of their mom. Sherry makes it very clear that she does not want to share a lot of what her younger siblings went through, and she really just paints a pinpoint view into what is happening through her eyes. And I think that's enough. I don't really need to go deeper. I don't really need to know more. I like her cursory little brush across of the extreme trauma, and I'm sure if we really wanted to and you're just dying to know and pick that apart, you can clearly Google it because she makes it clear that there's like a 60 Minutes about it. I know there's an HBO docuseries on it now that just came out. I will not be going further, and I'm happy just to live in this world of it's over there. And I'm just seeing Sherry's point of view. Overall, I did give this book a 5 because I have a little bit of a hard time rating memoirs when they come specifically from a person's own personal traumatic experience. Like, who am I to really rate that? Like, could I say that she could have written it better? Maybe, but she's not a writer. Like, that's not her job in all of this. Her job was to share her story, and she did that in a clear, concise, emotional, chronological, well-done manner, and so that gets a 5 stars. Whether or not it was even a topic that I really cared about, I still think that when someone has the guts, especially in a situation like her, to be able to share this information to the world, we need to all be nice, okay? Be nice. Now, if you'd like to say this isn't the topic for you, and it's way too traumatizing, and you would like to put triggers on it, that's fine, but then just don't rate it. It doesn't help. The entire audiobook is also narrated by Sherry, so we can really hear the pain coming out of her voice and feel the emotions that she's kind of reliving and writing. And I did feel seen in the book. Ruby is very similar to my mom, so it was very hard for me to get through this book. And Sherry did say something specifically about how she did find that she didn't have enough information to share. And then when it started coming and started pouring out of her, she suddenly had too much. And I said the same thing when I thought about like documenting anything of what happened to me as a child. I'm just like, well, I don't know. I don't know if I have enough. Is it really abuse? What's going on? And clearly, yes. Outside of my trauma response to this book, I do find it really hard not to want to dive deeper because the insanity of what goes on, and I know that there's a lot of fodder online that we can find. It's insane. But again, I also just kind of want to give them peace. And I also just don't want to fall into the rabbit hole myself anymore. So I'm just going to stay over here. I'm just going to put it out there that I did listen to the audiobook. I think that it is underhyped. I don't think enough people are talking about it. I think that it was very well done. I think that it is a great look into child abuse and some of the different ways that it can be mentally done that isn't just a physical form, so that we can keep an eye out for it in general. And I think that the audiobook was a really great way to handle it. Okay. 2 more books, friends. 2 more books, and we are done. Okay. So the other book that I was asked to read this month for a review, essentially I was given a list of new releases by, I think it's Harper, right? Is this yeah, HarperCollins. I was given my connection. My connection sent me a list of fall releases, and I had to pick the one that I was most interested in reviewing. And I decided to pick the most horror-y looking of them all, which was The Deep Well by Laura Creedle. We're just doing it again. We're gonna go with Creedle here, okay? Laura Creedle. I was worried. I always get worried when I accept these books to review because what if I hate it? What if I hate the book? And then I worry and I stress and I get anxiety and I want to vomit and it's just too much. But I shouldn't have worried because The Deep Well was really good. Totally what I needed and what I wanted. It is extremely underhyped, and I just have to send all the thank yous that I was sent this copy to review because, yes. And because I was sent this copy to review, it means that I will be doing a full in-depth review later in the month. So keep an eye out for that. But just to give a really quick overview, I gave this book 4 stars. The book is mostly set, I want to say 12 years after a huge massacre occurred when she was a child at this excavation site where a bunch of people were killed, including her father. After the event happened, her and her mother luckily got some money from the occurrence, and they're able to buy a house and just go on living their life. Now, 12 years later, the event that happened is essentially haunting April, and a bunch of people, all those hunters, cultists, all this around, are thinking that something is going to happen again when on her 17th birthday. I think it's her 17th birthday. It's either she's 17 and turns 18, or it is her 17th birthday. Anyway, on her birthday. And because these cult people are crazy that are following her, and because she's tired of being a pariah because she played one tiny little moment in the events that happened, April takes it on herself to figure out the mystery behind the event. This leads us to a huge wild goose chases and trying to figure things out, and some dark spookiness and a little bit of love. And ultimately we get to the end results, which weren't super shocking, but enough. They fed me at the end. This book, I pretty much read this book in practically a day. It is the quickest read ever. It is a YA horror book, and don't sleep on your YA books, especially if you want to read horror that isn't too gross and dark and go to there. Stick with some YA horror because it has a nice blend of some darkness, a little bit of gore, but it's not going to go Stephen King style and really fuck you up at night because it's really meant for young adults. This was a quick, fast-paced read. It totally got me into this September mood and all the coziness of just wanting to read in front of the fire and just curl under a blanket. And again, it was just a nice little palate cleanser after the house of my mother. Just a nice little palate cleanser where the mother is nice here. The mother is nice here. Yeah. Keep an eye out for the full review that I'll be posting later this month. Last but not least, finished in the final hours of September, we have The September House by Carissa Orlando. I got to read The September House in September. I'm stoked. I'm so happy that it happened. It happened. This was touch and go because when I went to my library to go get it, someone had already grabbed it before me. So I put it on hold and I got it like a week before the month was over, and I made it happen. I made it happen. My crowning achievement. This is my crowning achievement. I just want to know why it's the September House. Like, why does everything happen in September? Why not October when the spooky season in the Vale is thin? Like, why was it September? Why wasn't it April then? August? July? Why September? This book is about Margaret and her husband Hal, who finally in their later stages of life are able to buy their dream home, a Victorian house with a wraparound porch, multiple stories, a huge kitchen with windows, and I think a decent sized piece of the house comes at a very cheap price. And they don't actually ask why it comes at such a cheap price, but it does. And when the first September of them living there rolls around, they kind of start to figure out why. Let's see. Blood runs down the walls. Ghosts start appearing, and then there's the screams, and they kind of start learning some rules like you can't light any fires in the fireplaces. Then we get to about the 4th September, and Margaret is trying to deal with the yearly September occurrences that always disappear on the 1st of October by herself. And when her daughter tells her that she's coming for a visit because Hal, her dad, is no longer picking up her phone calls and she wants to figure out what happens to him, Margaret gets a little kind of fucking scared that people are going to find out all the events that are happening in the house, including Farika, the ghost that keeps serving her tea. And if you guys didn't watch our podcast episode of Will Cat Eat My Eyeballs where CJ asked me if I would live in a haunted house, I will 100% live in a haunted house if there's a Frederica. Okay, I'm just gonna say. So Margaret tries her best to just essentially hide the house from her daughter as they try to figure out what happened to Hal a month earlier. And yeah, a lot happens. This book is part haunted house, part murder mystery, part horror extravaganza. This is not for the weak-hearted. This is gory, gory, gory. But I still think a few of you, if you're really wanting and ready to dip your toe into the water, I think that you could probably survive a lot of this. Just don't let your imagination absorb the fact of what the people look like. Just picture them whole in your head. The book is heartwarming. It has a lot of mother-daughter connections into it. It does come with triggers such as spousal abuse and other things going on, as well as murder and gore and torture and blood. Lots and lots of blood. And there is some animal death in this by a bunch of birds. Okay, so, I always spoil that for you. But yeah, so this book, I did only give it a 3.29. My biggest complaint about the book in general is the writing style. This is not generally my type of writing style. And I think because of the way it was written, we're missing some of the deep, intense emotions that I think that this book really had in store for it. Overall, I think this book it held a vast multitude in it. And Orlando didn't pull all of that mass multitude out of it. Because ultimately the idea is great. The imagination is great. The storyline is great. The mother-daughter stuff is great. The other ghost stuff is great. The haunting is great. The fear factor is great. But if I was Orlando's editor, I really would have tried to push her for more, to pull it out of her, because I think that there is just so much more breadth into this book than what we're getting. And I think that the back and forth in the timeline a little bit, it's mostly based during the 4th September of it, but to get some backstory about the other Septembers, what's really going in the house, the relationship between Margaret and Hal and their daughter, and just all of that. We have some time jumps into the past to build a foundation for all of it. And that was a little disjointed at times. It felt very telling. It felt very distant. And that's some of the areas I'm talking about where I just feel like we could pull so much more out of the book and the emotions and the story in general. So this is a maybe recommendation. I think it depends on who I'm recommending it to. I think a general version of a horror reader could enjoy it, which is good. And I think people who might like a little bit more literary fiction could also enjoy this as well. Bordering on woman's fic, but an elevated woman's fic. This didn't read like a general horror story that I'm used to reading. There's a style with horror. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know how to put into words what I'm saying. But I think if you pick this up, you will understand as well. That's all of them, friends. That is all the books. I need my water. Now, because I forgot, because I'm silly, I totally forgot to tell you that if any of these books sound interesting to you, please make sure to use my bookshop.org link below. It is a great help to me because at no additional cost to you, it does give me a small percentage for every purchase that you make. And it gives you a second option to not buy on Amazon. Plus, you can help support a local bookstore. I forget how it works on bookshop.org, but I know that you can link a local bookstore and they help them out as well. But thank you so much, friends, for listening to this episode. I really do hope that either you were guided correctly or I did give you some inspiration on what to read next. If you have read any of these books, please make sure to comment spoiler and leave me your thoughts below, or DM me on Instagram if it's a big spoiler so we don't ruin the book for anyone either. And if you are watching this on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we can also get these books out to all the other readers out there. Or just follow along on whatever platform. Wait, this one is only on YouTube. So please make sure to like and subscribe. But thank you so much, friends. And I hope you have an awesome October reading month. Bye.